Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? I go by RB, and this is Philly Take with RB. Like always, if you guys are enjoying the content of the channel, be sure to smash that like button for me. Hit that subscribe if you're new, and ding that notification bell so you're instantly notified whenever I upload or go live. And today, we are back discussing some more Philadelphia 76ers and another potential coaching candidate. Yes, that is right. Just days after Mike D'Antoni gets eliminated from the playoffs and announces that he will not be returning to the Houston Rockets, there is apparently interest with the Philadelphia 76ers. There has even been reports saying that D'Antoni will get an interview in the coming week or two and that he could actually be one of the leading candidates for this job. Now, before we get all into it and we talk about the good, the bad, everything else in between, here is what I want to say, and you can see this from the title of the video. Philadelphia 76ers, with all due respect, please stay away from Mike D'Antoni. I'm telling you now, and I'm only going to say it once. Please, with all due respect from us Sixers fans, stay away from Mike D'Antoni. Now, just to be clear, I think Mike D'Antoni is a good guy. I think he's a smart basketball mind, and I think he understands how to run a team. But we're going to talk about this more in depth. So Mike D'Antoni has been in the league for 16 years as a head coach. 1 year with the Denver Nuggets. He coached those remarkable Phoenix Suns years ago. The New York Knicks, the Lakers. He was even an advisor and an associate head coach with the Sixers the year that we only won 10 games, believe it or not. On Brett Brown's staff. And then as of late, as we all know, Mike D'Antoni as the coach of the Houston Rockets, who took that team to the playoffs every year and deep in, but never was able to go all the way. Mike D'Antoni's system will never, ever win a championship. This man has coached the likes of Steve Nash. He has coached the likes of Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, Amari Stoudemire, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. It does not work. Mike D'Antoni will not win a championship in the NBA because of the way he plays. It's a style of basketball that is not common to many, that not are able to run, and he kind of revolutionized it, but it will not work, and specifically for this Sixers team. But let's go ahead and give some of the good things about D'Antoni. I think he has been able to develop some players as of late, as we saw. One of his most impressive attributes of his career was turning James Harden into a prolific MVP scorer, moving him to the one. I mean, James Harden was your regular two guard, shooting guard, but Mike D'Antoni just threw all of the ball duties on James Harden. Obviously they had Chris Paul and they run a lot of pick and rolls, but James Harden, just the things that he has been able to do over the last couple of years, turning into that prolific scorer, that MVP type player, that is a lot of credit to Mike D'Antoni and what he was able to do with James Harden. We saw back in the day he was able to turn a pretty good player from Steve Nash into an MVP by the way they were able to run that system. And as of late, it's crazy what the Houston Rockets have been able to do. And a lot of that is a credit to Mike D'Antoni and how he coaches, but I don't think it's a championship system. If Mike D'Antoni were to come to the Philadelphia 76ers, I think we would see a lot more up-tempo. I think we would see a ton of pick and rolls. We saw the Houston offense the last couple years. When they went to the conference finals years ago against the Warriors, they shot terrible in that Game 7, a historic terrible performance, and they almost won that game. But that's kind of the downfall. If you're not shooting in Mike D'Antoni's offense, there is no Mike D'Antoni offense. The Philadelphia 76ers would see a lot more up-tempo. We would see a lot of pick and rolls. And I'm sure we would have to see a lot of different personnel, and that kind of gets into the next point. You would also see tons of spacing, but just like in the playoff series this year, it's just like Mike D'Antoni kind of just has trouble adapting to the personnel if they're not designed specifically for his system. Like Mike D'Antoni is stubborn. He runs one kind of offense. Sure, you would see tons of spacing and the pick and rolls, like I said, but outside of that, he would have trouble adapting to this Sixers team. Mike D'Antoni would have to turn this Sixers team into a bunch of snipers. That is the Mike D'Antoni identity. Now, there are a lot of flaws, but I think the one player that would benefit most from seeing Mike D'Antoni in Philadelphia is Ben Simmons. You would see Ben Simmons probably play kind of like a stretch big role in the 4 and maybe even the 5. He would probably be able to defend every position if he's not already. Ben Simmons would be amazing in the pick and rolls, probably on both sides as the handler and as the roller, probably more as the roller. And Ben Simmons would have to shoot. Ben Simmons would have to shoot in a Mike D'Antoni offense. Those are the positives I would see from D'Antoni coming, along with his experience in coaching some of these big players. But overall, the flaws of Mike D'Antoni's system will kill this Sixers team again. I will say it one more time for you. If you are the Sixers, Elton Brand, or whoever's running this process, stay the heck away from Mike D'Antoni. We will be in for some long years, and here's why. Mike D'Antoni, as I said, he runs this pick and roll spread offense where everybody has to be on the perimeter. You're pretty much playing two-man game or ISO if you have a guy like a James Harden. Here's the thing. Number one, the fit is not right. We do not have anywhere near the personnel that you need to run a Mike D'Antoni team. We do not have an elite ball handling scoring guard who can constantly create his own shot. We do not have it. We don't have a player like a Steve Nash. We don't have a player like a James Harden. We don't have a player like a Chauncey Billups. We don't have that player. In addition to that, what the heck would happen to Joel Embiid? Let me tell you, Mike D'Antoni has been criticized because he really does not believe in any post-up play at all. He does not know how to use big men. Back with the Lakers with Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard, we know those two weren't able to mesh, but Mike D'Antoni did nothing to resolve that situation. And Mike D'Antoni's a guy who's going to lead you to the playoffs. Most years, he'll get you 40, 50 wins if you have the players, but he's not going to take you far, and he was not able to resolve that situation. Dwight Howard's numbers significantly regressed. Pau Gasol regressed. Everywhere he goes. I mean, this year with the Rockets, they traded their starting center midway through the year because Mike D'Antoni does not believe in big men and post-up play. So what are we going to do with Joel Embiid? What are we going to do with Al Horford? We don't have those kind of guys, and we don't have a James Harden or a Steve Nash. That's number one. Number two, Mike D'Antoni has been criticized throughout his career for not utilizing defensive schemes. He does not improve his defense. It kind of just is what it is. Now, this year, I will say Houston did kind of step it up, but it was because of the way they had to play without the size, with the speed that they had. Sure, they're going to suffocate shooters. They're going to get out on the perimeter. But down low, they really could not do anything. And we saw that as they got absolutely demolished by the Lakers in this past series. I mean, the Rockets barely snuck past round one against the Thunder, against a team who wasn't even supposed to make it. And then this last series, they got beat by the Lakers. But look, no post-up play, no big men. What would Joel Embiid have to do? He would literally have to be a stretch five and sit out in the corner and shoot threes. That's literally what Joel Embiid would do. You would not see the pick and rolls you would see would be, Ben Simmons and a guy like Shake Milton. Those are the kinds of pick and rolls you would see, and it would not work in this offense. We don't have the right personnel. It's not the right fit. The defense needs to be there. That is what we are kind of predicated around right now, and the fit would just not be right. The only way that I could see the Sixers getting Mike D'Antoni and it being a successful transaction is if we go out and trade Joel Embiid and trade Al Horford and literally just bring back shooter upon shooter upon shooter. Mike D'Antoni will not know how to adjust that. That's another thing. We have not seen a lot of adjustments from him in playoff series. He's very stubborn. It takes some time. He also doesn't like to coach or throw in any young guys. I mean, it takes a lot for Mike D'Antoni to play younger talents like a Matisse Thybulle, and that would also create issues for this team. And it's not Mike D'Antoni's fault, for example, that this year they go out and they get Robert Covington and they trade CP3 for Westbrook. It's not his fault fault. But at the end of the day, it was not a good trade, and D'Antoni was really not able to utilize them the best that he could. It was really just James Harden back and forth, and Harden would have to go for 40 points, and the shooters would have to be on. You would have to have guys like Covington and PJ Tucker and Daniel House and Eric Gordon, those type players, and the Sixers just have none of it. They really just have none of it. Now, I think a couple years ago in those Western Conference Finals, I think that was the best chance for the Rockets and for Mike D'Antoni to ever win a championship. And he just failed. He simply failed. That is really the last thing. He's just come up short. Even though he had a back-to-back MVP in Steve Nash, and they went to the Western Conference Finals 2 times in a row. Or the Rockets, they continually go to the second round, and then they go to the Western Conference Finals, and they have that terrible performance. He's just come up too short, and he's getting older, and he'll be a nice coach. He's a good basketball offensive mind. He'll be able to go to a team like Indiana and turn an Oladipo into another Harden. But at the end of the day, and I will continue to preach this, Mike D'Antoni system will not win a championship. Let me tell you, we will be in for some long years, and we will end up seeing either one of our guys like an Embiid request a trade, and we will continually get frustrated, and things will just not go up in the short term. But you guys, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of Mike D'Antoni as a coach? Would you welcome him as the next coach of the Sixers? What do you think of the fit? Give me all your thoughts down below in the comment section. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Perfect.